Welcome to another teacher tip with Mr. Long, and in today's lesson we're going to look at something called Sparklines in Excel. And it's a little feature that you might not be aware of, and you might not know that you want to use it, but when you see how it works, it might be a very valuable tool that you can use, especially in your mark books or any analysis that you've got of your students' performance. So let's go straight into it. You can see what it is. So first of all, I've got a bunch of students and some results, a whole bunch of tests. These are all random student names and random results, so it doesn't relate to anyone. It's just for this example. So I'm going to show you what a sparkline is, and then you can start to get the ideas of where you can use them. So first of all, I'm going to create, a sparkline is like a mini chart that you can have for each particular set of data. So let's say for this example, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can fit the sparkline in that cell. So I want a sparkline for all of this data. So I'm going to select it. So all of these different marks over here, and I'm going to come here to insert. And right at the top here, you'll see sparklines. Now you can have line sparklines, column, or win losses. Win losses are, I think, for positive and negative values. So most of the time, you'll probably use a line or a column. So I'm going to use a line. And by clicking on line, it's going to ask me where do we want the sparklines to be placed. And I want each student to have their own sparkline. So I'm going to select all of these rows over here for where I want the sparklines to be located. And when I click OK, what you'll see here are these little charts that appear for each particular set of data. Now, once you click on it, you'll get access to the Sparkline ribbon, and you can edit the data. You can change it. Maybe you don't want the line. Maybe you want to have it as columns. You can do it as columns if you want. You can do that. Let's keep it at the line. You can have the high points highlighted or the low points highlighted if you want. You can, the first, the last, you can have negative points. You can just show all the markers if you want. You can specify what you want these to look like. For example, a particular color. Maybe you want it to be blue with a bit of red. You can specify the sparkline color if you want, or the marker color. Now, when you do the marker color, you can actually specify a different color for each high point, low point, or the last point. Okay, you can do that if you want. So particular markers, and then the axes, you can set the axes. Maybe you can't see, for example, like this is in relation to what are we talking about? So for example, yeah, you can see these values are just in the lowest point is 19, which is right at the bottom there, where this lowest point would be a 13. It's not the same. So you can make them the same for all sparklines, so they're all relative. Or you can, maybe you want to specify, hey, I want to specify the minimum value of my sparkline is going to be a 0, which means, so it puts it in perspective. So this value is slightly, that's a 13, and that's 13. So those will be the same, but you get the idea. They're in perspective of each other. So that's how you can create these sparklines. Now, just take note, when I selected the data, I made it, it's almost like a group. So when I make changes to the sparkline, it changes everything. If you don't want to do that, you can click ungroup, and then you can go and change each and every individual one if you want. So this one's different to the other one. So if I change that to a column, only that one will be in a column sparkline and so on. So you must remember that. Now, the one issue with sparkline is if I delete all those sparklines, let's go delete all those. Let's go delete all of them. I don't want them all there. So I'm going to come to the sparklines here, and I want to, I'm going to edit, I'll regroup it. Sorry, let's go group it again. So I want to edit the data. Now I've got another column here, which I'm going to unhide. So there we go. I've got a test here that's out of 100, which is very different to the other assessments that were out of 50. Now the problem if I do this, now if I say, okay, this sparkline, yeah, all my sparkline over here, I'm actually going to include, edit the data and the grouping to include this assessment that's also out of 100. Okay, so if I do that, it does distort my data a little bit because these all look like low marks, and then they all have this high mark, which is because it's out of 100. So when you've got data that is out of different values, it can distort your sparkline and not give you the actual information that you're looking for. So what you could do is rather use percentages. If your assessments aren't out of the same thing, and maybe you want to use percentages. Now, here I've got a mark book where we've got percentages. The problem with this, however, is I can't just select in particular columns. I've got to have them all next to each other. So what you can do if you want have that situation is I'm going to actually take these columns where I don't want all that information. I'm going to hide them. So I'm selecting them all and hiding them. So now I've just got percentages. Now that's a little bit more useful. So I can select all these values and go insert a sparkline for them. And I want to put those sparklines over there. Okay, obviously we can make it. So there we go. So there you can see the sparklines. That looks great. And so there you've got a better representation about how the student's performance is being done. And so, okay. So if we want the axes to be all the same, so we want all the same for all sparklines, and we want the bottom value, maybe the custom value, we want it all to be 0 for the bottom and maybe the top, because the assessments will be out of 100. So the max value will be 100. So let's make it 100. So it's 0 to 100, so we can get a better perspective of it. And then we can make these just a little bit bigger. Or actually not 100. It should be, the percentages are actually between 0 and 1 actually. So that's what we should be doing. So that's my bad. So it's between 0 and 1, because 100% is 1. So there we go. That looks a little bit better. So now I've got those. I can actually make these a bit bigger, these cells, so we can get a better indication. So there you can see these are all in the middle, where this is right at the top and it comes down a bit. So that's a little bit better. Obviously you want to get back to your marks. You're going to come here and you're going to unhide, and that's going to mess up your sparklines a little bit. You'll see here it does mess them up. But then just obviously you're going to select all this data again. When you are referring to the sparkline, just select that data and hide it again to go get the information if you are referring to the sparkline. I know that's not ideal, but that is what you can do if you don't want to mess up or create a brand new sheet that's going to have just the marks in, which you can do. You can create a brand new sheet that's got just the percentages or just all the tests out of one particular value. But if you want to just add it to your markbook, that's what I would do when you are referring to sparklines. Make sure that it's all the in-between data is hidden. So there we go. Go make some funky sparklines. For more teacher tips, go to our YouTube channel, click on that subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, and please share this channel with your fellow teacher friends so that we can help them as well. And remember, don't do it the long way, do it the Mr. Long way.